Welcome to Math with Mrs. Cox. We are on Chapter 11, Lesson 9, page 851 in your math book. And this is going to be talking about metric rulers. So on your ruler, you're generally using the inches and the foot side. But if you flip it over, you see cm or centimeters. So we have centimeters. Now, this is a centimeter. And then what's in between the centimeters is the millimeters. So kind of a neat little fact is there are 10 millimeters in between each centimeter. So there's 10 here, 10 here, 10 here. Kind of a fun little fact there to remember. And we're going to use them to measure things. Looking right here, you can see that this piece of chalk is 4 centimeters. So we would say it's 4 centimeters or 4 centimeters long. How many millimeters would that be? You're right, 40 millimeters. And remember, which one is the most accurate? The smallest measurement's the most accurate because it can measure smaller amounts more accurately. All right, let's go to the next page. So if we had our little handy dandy ruler, which you can cut out if you wish, and measure this car, and we measured it, and remember when we measure, we have to put a 0 right here, and we measure how long until right here, and that's where we find out. So go ahead and measure your ruler against that car, and tell me how many millimeters it is. Go ahead, and it should be 57. Explain how you can tell the difference between a centimeter and millimeter marks when measuring an object with a metric ruler. The smaller marks represent the millimeter marks, while the centimeter marks are every 10 millimeter lines. Number 2, is it easier to measure objects to the nearest centimeter or the nearest millimeter? Explain. It is easier to measure to the nearest centimeter because the units are larger, unless you're measuring something that's really, really little, and then the millimeter marks come in handy. Okay, that's all we're doing for that page. Okay, pull out, let's see. Go ahead and pull out your little ruler that you cut and measure the penny and measure the fish. I need you to tell me the nearest centimeter and the nearest millimeter. Now, find your ruler outside of your desk. Try that again. Now find your ruler inside your desk. If you do not have one, there's one in the back in a can. Please measure the following. And your measurements might be slightly different than the ones I'm going to put up. Remember, you're going to measure to the nearest centimeter and the nearest millimeter. The width of a book. The length of a pencil. The width of a calculator. The length of a tape dispenser. Now draw a line segment for each of the following lengths. Remember, a line segment has a bubble on each end. And go ahead and draw about how long 6 centimeters are going to be. Now, my accurates are not drawn true to scale. So please make sure yours are drawn true to scale. Make sure you do a bubble at the end and a bubble at the beginning and the end. Make sure they measure their appropriate amounts. Join me on the next page. We're actually going to skip this page. Let's go to the homework, shall we? Okay, go ahead and cut out that cute little ruler to help measure this frog to the nearest centimeter and the nearest millimeter. Push pause and then double check your findings. And yes, second step is being taught next door, and that's what you can hear in the background. And that's okay, because we are at school. Join me on the next page. Remember, we're doing the nearest centimeter and the nearest millimeter, the length of a pen. And that is the pipes you just heard. The length of a paper clip. Go ahead and push pause. Actually, you can probably just copy me for this one because I don't have paper clips to hand out to everybody. Let's try that again. Okay, take 2. Length of a paper clip. You're welcome to go ahead and copy down these increments because I don't have enough paper clips to hand out to everybody in the class. But you can do the line segment. Please make sure that your line segment is 7 centimeters. Make sure you do a bubble at each end. And then do this next line segment 105 millimeters with a bubble at each end. Number 7, the length of Manny's hamster is 114 millimeters to the nearest millimeter and 11 centimeters to the nearest centimeter. Which measurement is more precise? Remember we talked about this at the beginning of this video? The smaller measurement is more precise, and millimeters is smaller. So it is more precise. Lauren has a ruler marked in millimeters and a tape measure marked in centimeters. Which measuring tool will give Lauren the more precise measurement? Well, millimeters is the more precise because it's smaller, and that is a ruler. Number 9, Hanley measured the height of his glass to be 13 centimeters. Sally measured the same glass and found it to be measured 132 millimeters. Who had a more precise measurement? Okay, so centimeters are bigger and millimeters are smaller, so it is going to definitely be smaller. And who measured the smaller one? Sally did. Okay, go ahead and turn that in.